Look, just in case you missed the top of the show, just amazing revelations from the ABC's Managing Director, David Anderson, in estimates today in Canberra, revealing that reporter who was so divisive and so wrong about that meeting in Alice Springs 2 weeks ago, well, she didn't even go into the meeting.
Ms Williams did try to get into the meeting, did try to get in, but was not allowed into that meeting, was outside of the meeting while the meeting occurred, and recorded those people leaving the meeting.
Now, the senator who was leading the questioning, the probing there in the Senate today was Sarah Henderson from Victoria, a long-time ABC reporter herself back in the day. Thanks for joining us, Sarah. You must have been just astonished to hear this now. And as I say, you would be the same as me as a reporter at the time. If you're covering a meeting and you're prevented from going in there, that is something you're compelled to actually put in your story.
Well, Chris, good evening and great to join you. And yes, we both work for the ABC. I worked for the ABC for 9 years and I was absolutely stunned to hear the evidence of the Managing Director today. It's clear that the ABC has tried to cover up the fact that the reporter at the centre of this storm, in fact, did not attend the meeting. So when the ABC talked about the importance of reporting all perspectives, it didn't actually tell us that the reporter was not at the meeting, and Mr Anderson kept changing his story. First of all, he said she wasn't allowed in, and then he changed his story to say she had some car parking issues, and then he ended up saying, oh, well, the doors were closed, so she couldn't get in, and I said, did she try to open the door? So I don't want to just let the ABC hang this reporter out to dry, I might say, Chris, because this is a fundamental failure of ABC management. The way this whole thing has been managed. Of course, we know that this was a report which depicted a meeting of some 3,000 people as white supremacists, but predominantly. Yep. And when the ABC first defended this report after the enormous public outcry, they said there's nothing to see here. And it was only after
the point. This is what makes it so scandalous. It was controversial the very next day, and there's been an enormous focus on this, yet they've still, more than 2 weeks later, before they tell us she wasn't even in that meeting. And I showed a clip earlier, an ABC news host, Michael Rowland, back in Melbourne, saying that this was obviously so many people in there felt that way. He had no idea, and still they didn't tell us that she wasn't in there. It's, I think, absolutely scandalous. And the other point that you brought out in the questioning today was that they still haven't worked out who approved it. I mean, if they haven't worked that out 2 weeks later, how can they ever work it out?
Well, it was astounding. And also I do want to ensure that we don't just jump to the conclusion that this was the mistake of Sabra Lane or the executive producer of the AM program, because that may not be the case. I mean, I don't like to see journos sold down the river if that actually hasn't occurred. I think this has been a fundamental failure of ABC management. ABC Corporate Affairs just swung in defence action. They defended this report. They didn't look at the substance of the concerns, including the cries of deep concern by the mayor of Alice Springs. And of course, I wrote to the ABC, referred that on to ACMA, requested ACMA investigate the ABC for a breach of its code of practice, and even raised concerns, Chris, that they were still publishing that original report online. Now, These are basic things that you and I both learned when we were young cub reporters.
Yeah, and it's still there, uncorrected. It is terrible. Congratulations on the way you're probing this. I'm astonished at what's come out today. And as you say, we need to keep going and find out more. I appreciate your time, Senator Sarah Henderson.